Yo, what's up guys? It's Noah here, and in today's video, we're going to be breaking down the NBA slate on Draftkings and Yahoo for Saturday, January the 16th. We're going to cover Saturday's 4-game slate, team by team like we did in yesterday's video. If you missed yesterday's video, I will be going team by team now instead of position by position. Just really like this way more. I think it's just a better way to break down the videos, especially with how this season is shaking up with all the COVID stuff, with teams missing so many guys, every day it seems like. Breaking it down team by team is just going to be, easier to consume in my opinion. I'll be able to break down the injuries and everything. So before we get started with the breakdown, guys, as always, I would appreciate it if you would hit that like button down below. If you are new to the channel, be sure to subscribe as well. I do upload a ton of NBA content to this YouTube channel, so I would appreciate it if you would subscribe. I do have NFL content up as well. If you're playing the 4-game Saturday playoff slate, I do have an NFL video up for the divisional round for Saturday's games and Sunday's games, so if you want to check that out, it's already up on the channel. But yeah, let's go ahead and take a look at Saturday night's 4-game slate. We'll start off in the Charlotte-Toronto game. We'll start off on the Charlotte side. So in terms of injuries here, really the only injury that's worth noting is that Gordon Hayward, I believe, is questionable for this game. Yeah, I think he was expected to play last game, and then they had him, he got scratched he got downgraded to doubtful. He did not wind up playing. With Hayward out, that benefits guys like LaMelo Ball, who definitely should see more minutes. Only played 26 last game, but he was pretty efficient with 46 DK points in those 26 minutes. He would get a little bit of a boost if Hayward was out. PJ Washington would get a little bit of a boost. I thought Miles Bridges was going to start last game, but they did not start him. He still played 29 minutes off the bench. Wasn't very productive. They actually did start Caleb Martin, who I don't believe he played many minutes. Yeah, just 24 minutes in the starting lineup. Did have 23 DK points. He's still cheap, so maybe he could be someone worth considering as a cheaper value. But I think right now we have better value on the slate that I like. So really on the Charlotte side, there's not a ton that stands out to me today. I think LaMelo Ball, even at 7,900, is still viable. We know this is a guy that has 45, 50-point upside. Legit has triple-double upside basically any night. I would prefer that Hayward be out in order to pay up for him, but you could look to LaMelo Ball on a short slate like this. Rozier, I'm not the biggest fan of. Devontae Graham at his price at 6K, I think he's still viable at this price point. Most games you're going to get about 30 plus, around 30 DK points from Graham. Sometimes he'll pop off for 35 to 40. He's fine against Toronto, but really on the Charlotte side, there's not a ton that I love. Maybe if Hayward's out, Miles Bridges probably get 28 to 30 minutes off the bench. Like, he could be a guy you consider at 4,500. But I don't love this team as a whole. I think this is definitely going to be a team that I'm mostly avoiding just overall on this slate. I think on Yahoo, there's a couple guys that look more appealing there. Like LaMelo is only $30 on Yahoo. I think that's pretty appealing. Rozier is only $23. I could see going to him. Caleb Martin's he's minimum salary, so you could definitely go to him there. Like Miles Bridges is cheap. But really nobody stands out from the Charlotte side. So on the Toronto side, there are guys I like here. Pascal Siakam, great spot for him against the Hornets. I know he was kind of disappointing last game. 37 DK points in 38 minutes, but this is a fantastic matchup. Charlotte has always been a team that struggled against big men. I do have some interest in Siakam if you want to pay up at the power forward position. I think he makes some sense today. Lowry and Van Vliet, two guys that are always viable, but normally when they're both healthy, I really don't go out of my way to play them unless the price tag is, really good. I mean, the price on Lowry for $7,700, that's definitely viable. He did have a really good game against Charlotte when these teams just played a couple days ago. But the main interest for me on the Charlotte side is Chris Boucher. I like him a ton on this slate. $6,900 on DraftKings. The price is coming up, but I still think he's at a pretty good price point. And then on Yahoo, he's center, which sucks over there. There's a lot of centers I like today, but Boucher at $25 definitely stands out as a great center option. The guy just continues to smash night in and night out. I mean, 40 plus DraftKings points in 3 of his last 4 games. Even coming off the bench, he's been getting pretty big minutes. They've been doing some weird things with their starting lineup. Like, they started Alex Len one game, and then Boucher started the second half over Len because he was playing so well. They started Aaron Baines last game. Boucher started the second half over Aaron Baines because Boucher was playing so well. At some point, the Raptors are going to start Boucher. Maybe it doesn't happen here, but either way, I think the minutes are going to be there. He's been playing so well. He's such a productive player when he does get minutes. Like, he can put up 45, 50 DraftKings points in 30 minutes, especially in a really good matchup against the Hornets. We saw Boucher have a ton of success in this spot just a couple days ago. So he's the main guy that I really, really like from Toronto. And just in this game as a whole, Boucher is the guy that I have the most interest in. OG Anunoby's fine. He's going to play a ton of minutes. He'll probably give you about 25 to 30 DK points. At 5,500, he's a fine play. But really, yeah, like I said, just Boucher that I have the most interest in from this game. So let's go ahead and move on to the next one, Philly and Memphis. This is a very appealing game to target, especially on the Philly side, because we do have some big injuries here. Joel Embiid has already been ruled out. Seth Curry remains out. Mike Scott has been ruled out as well. Korkmaz remains out. And then Vincent Poirier, not much of an impact, but he's out as well. The big one, though, is that Joel Embiid is out. So that does obviously impact a ton. With Embiid off the floor, Embiid obviously such a high usage player. That's going to definitely affect Simmons, Harris, Milton. Those guys should get a little bit more usage. While Embiid being out also will affect, the backup centers, Dwight Howard, Tony Bradley. I am assuming that Dwight Howard starts here in place of Embiid, which is going to make him a really good value. We'll talk about him in a second. But starting off at the top, Ben Simmons I like a ton on DraftKings. I really like him on both sides. 8,400 on DK. You can play him at small forward on DK, which I think makes him a very appealing option. On Yahoo, he is very affordable over there. He's only $34. That looks like a very appealing price tag for Ben Simmons. Love him today with no Joel Embiid. With Embiid off the floor, that should help Simmons overall. He should be able to get more opportunity. Maybe he gets more rebounds with Embiid off the floor. We know Simmons is a great playmaker to begin with, and with no Embiid, he's just going to be relied on even more. So I like Simmons a ton at 8,400. He had a really good game last time out against Miami. That was kind of like his first really good game of the year. He's been struggling a lot this season in terms of fantasy upside. Like, we haven't seen a ton of big games from Ben Simmons, but had a triple-double, 48 DK points last game against Miami. Now with no Joel Embiid and a pretty good matchup against Memphis, I like Ben Simmons a lot on the slate. He definitely stands out as one of the top options for me from Philly. Tobias Harris I like quite a bit as well. On DraftKings at 7,500, I think he's definitely in play at this price point, but that's not a price that I feel like I have to, I don't have to play Harris at this price point. I think if I can get up to Simmons, I'd rather play Ben Simmons. We know Harris, he's not normally a guy that I target when the Sixers are fully healthy, but obviously that is not the case today with Joel Embiid being out. So Tobias Harris is definitely in play. I like him a lot more on Yahoo, though. He is much more affordable over there. He's only $29 at power forward. Like, if you just look at the power forward position as a whole, he's coming in cheaper than John Collins. He's coming in $6 cheaper than Siakam. I think if I'm paying up at power forward, Tobias Harris is the guy that I like most at $29. And on Yahoo, steals and blocks are worth 3 points, and that is something that Tobias Harris has been racking up a ton this year. He's been getting a ton of defensive stats. Those are very crucial on Yahoo, so I like Tobias Harris a lot on Yahoo at $29. And he's fine on DraftKings as well, but more so on Yahoo. That's where I'm targeting him. At Danny Green's price point, I really don't have any interest in him. Shake Milton had a really big game off the bench. Him and Maxey should both get a little bit more usage with Embiid out. At their price points, I don't think either one are like standout plays for me, but I definitely think both are viable on this short slate. Dwight Howard, though, he looks like a great value. I am assuming that he does start in place of Joel Embiid, and he's pretty cheap, $4,300 on DraftKings. He is minimum salary on Yahoo, so he stands out as a great value play on Yahoo at minimum salary. We did have a scenario earlier this year, I think, where Embiid was out and Howard did get the start. He didn't play a ton of minutes, but I would assume that's different here. Going up against Jonas Valanciunas, they're going to need a guy with size out there to defend Joe Val, so I do expect Howard to play. Basically, I would say probably 25, 26 minutes feels like a good projection for him. If he can stay out of foul trouble, he could maybe even play more than that. And Howard is a productive player when he does get minutes. He can average a fantasy point per minute. He's a guy that can score and can rebound. If he plays like 25, 26 minutes, he can easily get you a double-double in that time. He can block shots as well. He's a guy that I do like for value on this slate at 4,300. With no Embiid, the minutes should be there as long as he can stay out of foul trouble. So he looks like a really good value from the Philly side. Other than that, though, there's not a ton else that stands out. The bench guys like Isaiah Joe, Matthias, like these guys really aren't viable for me anymore. Now that Milton's back, now that Maxey's playing big minutes, like I just don't have a ton of interest in those guys. Maybe if you think Howard gets into some foul trouble, you can maybe play Tony Bradley, but probably not something that I'm going to be doing. But he's at least viable, minimum salary on a 4-game slate. If you're looking for a way to get different, that's a way you can get different. But I think that covers Philly. Let's go ahead and move on to the Memphis side. So Memphis, they were supposed to play on Friday night against the Timberwolves, and that game got postponed. That was due to the Timberwolves having a positive test. Karl-Anthony Towns tested positive. So I'm not expecting this game to have any issues. This game should be played. So on the Memphis side, John Morant is a situation we'll need to monitor. He did not play on Friday, obviously because of the postponement, but he was questionable heading into Friday's game. We don't know if he would have played or not. I have no idea if he plays today. If he does, and he's not limited, it's 7,600. He is definitely viable on the slate. I do have some interest in him depending on if he's limited or not. Jonas Valanciunas, I do like a lot at 7K. With no Embiid, this is a much better matchup for Valanciunas than you would think. This is a guy that's very productive when he's on the floor, and we saw that in their last game against Minnesota with 50 DraftKings points in 30 minutes. Price is still at a pretty good tag in my opinion. 7K, I think still a pretty good price for Joe Val, so I do have some interest in him from the Memphis side. But really, once you get past like Morant and Valanciunas, don't have a ton of interest else in other guys like Brandon Clark, Dylan Brooks. I don't really have a ton of interest in these guys. Tyus Jones, even if Morant's out again, like Tyus Jones has come up in price. So really for me on Memphis, Morant, if he plays, I think is a viable option, and if he's not limited. And then Joe Val, I do like at 7K. But really, that's it from the Memphis side. On Philly, or on the other side with the Sixers, that's where I have the most interest in from this game. But let's go ahead and move on to the next one. We got the Pistons and the Heat. We'll start off on the Detroit side. Detroit, not really a team that I ever have much interest in just because they're such a bad team. I mean, Jeremy Grant has been so good this year. His price is way up there at 7,400, but if this game is close, which is a big if it's close, you're going to get like 36, 38 minutes from Jeremy Grant. He's been incredibly productive this season. He should continue to be very productive on a nightly basis, given he's like the number one scoring option for this Pistons team. Still, though, on this slate, I don't think he really stands out as a top option for me. I think there's other guys I'd rather go to. Like Blake Griffin, I don't have much interest in. Derrick Rose, you can maybe look to. Coming off the bench, he should probably play 25, 26 minutes. He's usually a productive player when he gets minutes. The price did come down, so maybe you could go to Derrick Rose, but I don't have a ton of interest in really many guys at all from Detroit, if like any. Detroit's probably going to be a team that I just kind of fade as a whole. Like Mason Plumlee's price has come down, but his minutes have been all over the place. He's kind of hard to trust right now. I guess if I had to pick one guy from Detroit, it would probably be Mason Plumlee, just because if he does get like 30 minutes, he can easily pay off this 5K price point. That's a big if, though. His minutes, like I said, have been all over the place, but he could be someone you look to. Detroit, though, probably going to be a team that I kind of avoid as a whole today. I mean, not much I really have interest from Detroit. Like DeLon Wright, he got 32 minutes last game, but now that Derrick Rose is back, he'll probably see his minutes come down a little bit. Yeah, there's really not much I like from Detroit. So let's go ahead and move on to the other side, Miami. So this is a team that, we're going to have to keep an eye on injuries here. So right now, Bam Adebayo, Tyler Hero, Goran Dragic, Gabe Vincent, all those guys are questionable. All four of those guys are questionable. Also, you have like Harkless, Nunn. Like there's just so many guys questionable from Miami today. We do know, though, that Jimmy Butler is going to remain out. So it's really hard to break down this Miami team right now, given we don't know the status of these guys. I mean, assuming that Miami, assuming all these guys play and Miami's kind of back to full strength minus Butler, there's not a ton that stands out. Besides, if Goran Dragic plays, I think I have some interest in him at 5,700, especially if Jimmy Butler, with Jimmy Butler out, we know Butler's going to be out. But given that Butler is out, if Dragic plays, I think he looks appealing at 5,700. Like, it's just so hard to break down Miami because so many guys are questionable. Like Bam, if he plays at 8,600, that's kind of a hefty price for Bam, even with Butler out. I don't have a ton of interest in him. Tyler Hero has seen his price come way up. He would be appealing. Like, if Bam and Dragic remain out, then yeah, I have some interest in Tyler Hero, but we'll just have to wait and see there. Kelly Olynyk is just, that's all going to depend on if Bam plays. If Bam plays, I have no interest in Kelly Olynyk. Duncan Robinson, like, I'm not the biggest fan of, even if all these guys remain out. His prices come up. Like Precious Achiuwa, we've been playing a lot recently, but obviously if Bam returns, then that's going to kill Precious Achiuwa's value. So really, it's just kind of a wait and see here. If all these guys play, really the only guy I have interest in is Goran Dragic, just because Butler's out and 5,700 is too cheap for Dragic with Butler out. If they're all out again, though, then yeah, Tyler Hero becomes appealing, Olynyk becomes appealing, but all these guys' price points have rose to where they're not standout plays anymore. Achiuwa at 4,700 would be a good play again if Bam remains out, but yes, it's so hard to break down Miami right now just because so many guys are questionable. I try to do my best. If they all play, the only guy I really have interest in is Dragic just because Butler's out. If they all remain out, then we could target the guys that we've been targeting, but none of them would be top options for me given all their prices have come up. And there's some other values I like, specifically from like Philly. I like the Philly value a little bit more today. So yeah, I think we covered this game. Let's go ahead and move on to the late night hammer, the Hawks and the Blazers. This is a really good one. Should be a fast-paced game. Should definitely be probably the highest scoring game on the slate for sure. I think right now has a 236 total. So this will definitely be a game to target. Starting on the Atlanta side, Trae Young's a guy I like a lot here. I know he's been really, really struggling lately, but we've seen that. We've seen the price react because of that. He's down to $8,900 on Draftkings. He's down to $40 on Yahoo. I like Trae Young a lot here. This is such a good matchup against Portland. Should be a very fast-paced game. These are two pretty fast-paced teams. These are two pretty bad defensive teams as well. Even though this is a back-to-back for Atlanta, I'm assuming that Trae Young's going to be full go here. And if this game is close, we're going to get 35, 36 minutes from Trae Young. We know the upside that this guy has. And in a fast-paced game where we don't expect a ton of defense to be played, Trae Young's upside is through the roof. He should not be $8,900 in a matchup against the Blazers. So I love Trae Young on this slate. Definitely one of my favorite pay-up options overall. We don't have a ton of stud plays. The most expensive player on the slate is Damian Lillard at $9,200, and he even feels underpriced, and we'll talk about him in a second. So, there's no, 10K, 11K studs we're trying to jam in. Most expensive guys only $9,200, so it should be very easy to fit in these studs, especially because we do have some pretty solid value from Philly. So I do like Trae Young a lot. John Collins, I've been playing a good amount this year. I like this spot for him against Portland. I think he's definitely viable at $7,100. DeAndre Hunter, Cam Reddish, I think these are guys who are fine options, but for me, it's really Trae Young by far, the guy that I want the most exposure to on Atlanta, and then Collins I'll be mixing in. Hunter, Reddish I'll probably be mixing in a little bit, but it's mainly Trae Young in terms of top options for me. I really do like Trae Young, and he is definitely a core play for me on this slate. I will for sure be building around him, but that's kind of what I'm looking to on the Atlanta side. Now on Portland, we know what we're going to get from Portland. Jusuf Nurkic is out for about 8 weeks, so that will be something we'll need to talk about. But it starts with Damian Lillard and CJ McCollum. You got Lillard at $9,200. You got McCollum at $8,300. Both these guys I think are really good options today. I think I'd rather play Ben Simmons for $8,400 over a guy like McCollum for $8,300. But it's a great spot, so you could definitely go to McCollum. You could definitely go to Damian Lillard as well. I think Trae Young's going to be a lot lower owned than Damian Lillard, so I'd rather go to Trae Young. But Lillard definitely looks like a really good option here as well. We know the upside that Damian Lillard has in a matchup like this that should be fast-paced, that should be high-scoring. He's got 50, 60-point upside here. We could see a big game from Damian Lillard. I think between him and McCollum, if I can find the salary, I would probably rather play Lillard. But both guys are definitely appealing. Enes Kanter looks like a really good option as well. His price tag was bumped up a good amount. He's up to $5,600 on DraftKings, but if they're going to give him the minutes with Nurkic out, he could be a guy that's still too cheap at $5,600. If Enes Kanter plays even 25, 26 minutes, you could get 40-plus DraftKings points from him in this matchup against Atlanta. It's a great matchup, great pace game, should be high scoring, should be a ton of possessions here, a ton of shot attempts, which means a lot of rebound opportunities, which is obviously something that Kanter is great at. He's a great rebounder, he's a great scorer. If he plays, at least mid-20s minutes, he is very likely to pay off this $5,600 salary. Even though the price tag did came up, I like Enes Kanter a ton on this slate. I'm assuming that he does start in place of Nurkic, and he continues to start for Nurkic while he's out. So I like Kanter quite a bit. He looks good on Yahoo as well. It's just, the center position, you're going to have to make some decisions here. You got Joe Val for $27. You got Boucher for $25. You got Kanter for $18. You got Howard for minimum salary. All those guys look appealing to me. If Kanter was cheaper, I think I'd have more interest in him on Yahoo. But given that, Boucher is only $7 more, Howard's $8 less, probably would prefer Boucher and Howard given their price tags. But Kanter is obviously in play on DraftKings or on Yahoo. On DraftKings, though, Boucher's power forward eligible, which is just way more appealing because, you can play him at power forward, which means you can get in Howard at center, you can get in Kanter at center. I do like Kanter a lot with Nurkic out. Hopefully the minutes will be there. We've seen at times he's started some games or he's he's replaced Nurkic after he's gotten hurt sometimes and Kanter doesn't get a ton of minutes. Hopefully they give him the minutes here, and if they do, he can be incredibly productive in this matchup. Covington, Anthony, those guys are definitely in play. Carmelo Anthony does benefit with Nurkic out. We could see him play a lot more minutes. We could see them run some small ball lineups and play Anthony at the 5, which is what they did. And I think it was that Toronto game where Nurkic got hurt. They played some small ball lineups with Melo playing center. They could definitely do that here against the Hawks. So at $4,300, I actually do like Carmelo as a value play. I think he is definitely in play as a cheap option. But really, that's it for me from the Portland side. Portland definitely appealing on this slate. Lillard and McCollum, I think, are both good options. I like Carmelo quite a bit as a value. I like Kanter a lot with Nurkic out. Even Rocco, I don't mind. So, yeah, that really does it for the Portland side, and that does it for all 4 games today. Quick little team-by-team breakdown. I hope you guys, enjoyed this breakdown. Tried to keep it a little brief. Try to keep it quick. Just kind of give you a quick breakdown of these 4 games. But yeah, hope you guys enjoyed the video. Hit that like button before you do get out of here. Hit the subscribe button as well. If you are new to the channel, guys, be sure to click that the subscribe button, obviously. Click the notification bell so that way you do get notified every time I upload. You will also get notified every time I do go live. Now, I won't be going live for today's slate, but I might go live tomorrow for Sunday's NBA slate. I haven't decided yet. We'll just kind of see how it goes. But hope you guys have a good weekend. Enjoy your Saturday. Good luck on the slate, guys. Thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next one. Peace.